Every piece of financial advice I've ever come across assumes you already have money. Save 3 months of expenses, build your emergency fund, protect yourself from the unexpected. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, but what if my account is basically empty right now? What if 3 months of expenses feels less like a goal and more like a punchline? That's where I was not too long ago. And honestly, that's probably where a lot of you are too. So today, I want to talk about this idea of the 3-month emergency fund, because on the surface, it sounds completely reasonable. Save up enough to cover 3 months of your life if everything falls apart. Simple, right? Except when you dig into it, when you actually try to apply it from scratch, the whole thing starts to feel a lot more complicated than anyone lets on. Let me walk you through what I actually found when I started pulling at this thread, because I think there's a version of this advice that genuinely helps people, and then there's a version that just makes people feel behind before they've even started. And I want to figure out which one is which. So the conventional wisdom goes something like this. You need an emergency fund. Most financial experts say 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. Some are now pushing for a full year. The logic is pretty straightforward. If you lose your job, if your car breaks down, if something medical happens, you have a cushion, so you're not scrambling to put it on a credit card or borrowing money from someone you'd rather not ask. It's supposed to be your financial safety net. And when you frame it that way, it sounds not just reasonable, but kind of urgent. Like, obviously, you should have this. Who wouldn't want that kind of protection? But here's where it gets interesting. The advice is framed as if the hard part is deciding how many months to save, not whether saving that much is even possible for most people right now. I came across a survey from Bankrate conducted at the end of 2025, and the numbers were kind of jarring. Only about 47% of Americans said they could cover a $1,000 emergency expense without going into some kind of financial stress. Not 3 months of expenses, not even 1 month, just a single $1,000 problem. And nearly 1 in 4 Americans has no emergency savings at all. Zero. So we're out here being told to stack 3 to 6 months of expenses, while a huge portion of the population can't even clear a 4-digit hurdle. That stat sat with me for a while, because I'm not alone in this. This isn't a personal failure story that applies to one person. This is just where a lot of people are. And yet the advice doesn't change based on where you're starting. It's still the same number. 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. As if those numbers make equal sense for someone with $800 in savings and someone with $8,000. Let me get into the first reaction I had when I started looking into this properly. When I first heard the 3-month rule, my gut response was something like, okay, so how much is that exactly? I started doing the math. Rent, utilities, food, transportation, a few other basics. And my number came out somewhere around $1,400 a month to cover my actual essentials. So 3 months would be around $4,200. 6 months would be closer to $8,400. And I don't know about you, but sitting here with not much saved, looking at a $4,000 target felt completely disconnected from where I was standing. It wasn't motivating, it was paralyzing. And I think that's a really important thing to name, because the psychology of huge savings targets when you're starting from almost nothing is not simple. It's not like seeing a big goal makes you hustle harder. For a lot of people, it does the opposite. You look at how far away you are, and something in your brain just kind of checks out. Like, what's even the point of saving $50 this month when the goal is $4,000? So I started questioning whether the 3-month rule itself is the problem, or whether the way it gets delivered is the problem. Here's what I think is actually going on. The advice isn't wrong. Having months of expenses saved up would genuinely change the quality of your life. The Bankrate data actually shows that 60% of Americans are uncomfortable with how little they've saved, and 85% say they would need at least 3 months saved to even feel okay about their situation. So people understand the value. They want to get there. The gap isn't in understanding the goal. The gap is in having a realistic path to reach it when you're starting from basically nothing. And this is where the advice breaks down in real life. When someone who has a comfortable income and some existing savings tells you to build a 3-month emergency fund, they're describing something that's relatively achievable within a year or two of consistent effort. But when you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you're dealing with variable income, or you've got some debt that's eating into whatever you earn, earn, the same advice lands completely differently. The math just doesn't work the same way. Let me be straight up with you for a second. There was a moment a while back where I had a completely unexpected expense. Nothing dramatic by most standards. My laptop started dying on me and I needed it for work. We're talking a few $100s at minimum to even deal with the situation. And I had to think hard about what to do. I didn't have a proper emergency fund. I barely had anything set aside at all. I ended up piecing together money from a few different places, including asking a family member. They were generous about it, but because I hated being in a position where an unexpected few $100s could throw my whole month into chaos. That experience made the concept of an emergency fund feel real to me in a way that reading about it never did. It wasn't abstract anymore. It was the difference between handling something that happened and having it spiral into stress that lasted weeks. But here's the thing. Even after that experience, the idea of building 3 months of savings felt distant. I wasn't thinking I need $4,000 saved. I was thinking I need to never be caught flat like that again. Those are different problems with different solutions. And that's actually the insight I kept coming back to as I looked into this more. The 3-month emergency fund isn't really one thing. It's a range of protections, and you can start building them in stages. The conversation around emergency funds tends to treat it as an all or nothing target, like you either have 3 months saved or you don't have an emergency fund, but that framing misses something important. Having $500 set aside is not the same as having nothing. It doesn't solve every emergency, but it handles a surprising number of them. Think about what the average emergency actually looks like. The bank rate data on this is pretty telling. Among people who actually tapped into their emergency savings in the past year, the most common amounts they pulled out were between $500 and around $2,500. The largest single group pulled between $1,000 and $2,500. So while we're picturing some catastrophic 6-month job loss scenario, the actual emergencies most people are dealing with are closer to a car repair or an unexpected medical bill. That doesn't mean a 6-month fund isn't valuable. It absolutely is. But it does suggest that a starter fund, something in the $500 to $1,000 range, would address a meaningful chunk of real-life emergencies right now. Not all of them, but enough to change your situation compared to having nothing. So when I think about applying this to my own reality, the approach I've landed on looks less like the traditional advice and more like a stage system. Stage 1 is getting to $500 as fast as possible. That's the first real buffer. It's not about building 3 months of protection. It's about building the first layer so that a bad week doesn't automatically become a bad month. Stage 2 is stretching that toward $1,000. At that point, you can handle most of the common emergency categories without going into debt or asking someone for help. Stage 3, once those first two are in place, is where you start thinking about building toward a full month of expenses, and then 2 and eventually 3. The numbers feel less impossible when you're not staring at the full mountain all at once. You want to hack away at it, one piece at a time. I also want to address something that comes up whenever people start talking about emergency funds versus investing, because there's this whole debate about whether you should be putting money into a high yield savings account or investing it in something that grows faster. And honestly, for where I am right now, that debate feels a little premature. When you don't have any buffer at all, the priority isn't optimizing returns. It's just having something. Once you've got a few months covered, then the question of where to keep the money and whether to split it between savings and investments starts to make more sense. But getting ahead of yourself on that when you're still working toward the basics just adds noise to an already complicated situation. Something else worth thinking about is where the 3-month number actually comes from. The standard explanation is that 3 months gives you enough time to find a new job if you lose yours. But that assumption is getting shakier. The job market looks different than it did even 5 years ago. Some industries are changing fast because of technology and automation. Some people work freelance or gig work where there's no such thing as a stable paycheck to lose. For those situations, 3 months might not be anywhere near enough runway. And at the same time, if your living expenses are low and you have a marketable skill set, even 1 month of savings might give you enough breathing room to land something new. The point is that the right number isn't universal, it's personal, and nobody's telling you that. They just hand you the 3 to 6 month rule like it's a fixed truth. The bank rate survey also flagged something that I found really relatable. Inflation is a big reason people aren't saving more. About 54% of people said rising prices are the main reason their emergency savings either stayed flat or went went down. And that makes complete sense. When your basic expenses go up, but your income doesn't move at the same pace, saving anything at all becomes harder. You're not failing to save because you don't understand the advice. You're failing to save because there's not enough margin in the budget after covering what you actually need. So the advice that says just automate your savings and cut your expenses, while not completely useless, misses the real constraint for a lot of people. It's not that people don't know they should save, it's that the math doesn't cooperate. And that's a structural problem, not a personal responsibility problem. What I keep rounding back around to is this: the 3-month emergency fund is a real goal worth working toward. The research backs it up. Most people who have that kind of cushion feel genuinely more secure, and that security is worth having. But the advice as it's typically delivered sets people up to feel like they're failing before they've even begun. And that's a problem, because the people who most need to build an emergency fund are the same people most likely to feel defeated by a number that feels unreachable. The version of this advice that actually helps, at least for where I'm starting, is one that treats emergency savings as a ladder, not a cliff. Start small, get to 500, then 1,000, then a full month. Build the habit of adding to it regularly, even if the amounts are small at first. The survey data actually suggests that people who increased their savings last year were almost 4 times more likely to have also seen their income go up. So the savings growth is partly a function of income, which means looking for ways to bring in more money matters just as much as budgeting more carefully. And maybe that's the most honest version of the takeaway here. The 3-month rule isn't wrong, but it's not the whole story either. It's a destination, not a starting point. And when you're at the beginning, you don't need to know exactly how many months of savings you're supposed to have. You need to know what the first step looks like. And for most people starting from scratch, the first step is just having something, anything. Because 0 savings and $500 saved are not the same situation, even though neither one is 3 months. If you're somewhere in that beginning stage and this kind of thinking through the basics is helpful for you, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. This channel is basically me figuring out money in real time and trying to make sense of advice that was never designed for people who are just getting started. So if that sounds like where you are, stick around because we're going through this together. I'm still building toward the 3-month mark. I won't pretend I'm there yet, but the way I think about it now is completely different from how I thought about it before I started digging into this. It's no longer this giant fixed number hanging over me. It's a process. And for the first time, it actually feels like something I can move toward. If you want to keep going with this kind of thinking, the next video gets into something that trips up a lot of people around the same time they're trying to build their first savings cushion. It's about that moment when you're trying to decide whether to save or pay off debt first, and why the standard answer to that question might not apply to your specific situation. I think you're going to find it useful, especially if you're juggling both problems at once, which honestly, most people are.